So in this segment, we're going to be talking about David Davis still not fully understanding how the EU works. So he goes, it will not be easy to convince the EU to reform the protocol. The obstructive bureaucrats are powerful, but so are the various heads of government of the EU's member states. Boris must go on a tour of European capitals, appealing directly to the prime ministers and presidents. But what he doesn't understand is the Commission get their power in part from the heads of state of the EU, right? So Maros Sefcovic gets his he gets his orders from them. So if Sefcovic is saying something is not possible, it's because he's already spoken to the various different leaders in the EU, and he's come back and he's told the UK what he can and cannot do. That's not going to change if you go on a tour of EU leaders, because he's already gone on a tour of EU leaders. He's already spoken to them about what kind of changes the EU can and cannot make. Come on, dude. He still doesn't understand how the EU works after all this time, despite being Brexit Minister. It's just madness to me. He doesn't understand that Maros Sefcovic gets his power from the EU Parliament, but also EU leaders. On a dark Sunday afternoon in December 2017, I, David Davies, received a call from Theresa May, the then Prime Minister. She told me that she had agreed a new form of words in the negotiations over the Brexit deal. The words amounted to an agreement to allow full regulatory alignment between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, which has effectively, for the most part, happened now. And this was something where he resigned over. Put to one side the fact that she had undertaken these discussions without notifying me, her Brexit secretary, at all. I mean, to be fair, she shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have gone behind his back. Let's be honest here, that's not good. It's not very plus ultra of you, Theresa May. The word started a process that led to my resignation, but more importantly, led to the situation we face today, which is not strictly true. With the Good Friday Agreement and the integrity of the Brexit deal, both at risk. I mean, it's not strictly true. It doesn't really put us at the situation we're in today. Theresa May's deal did have some bearing over the Boris Johnson's later negotiations with the EU, but to argue it's Theresa May's fault doesn't make any sense when, Boris Johnson, he agreed to the Northern Ireland Protocol, so you can't blame Theresa May for that. If it was so bad, he wouldn't have done it. I think he even voted for it, Theresa May's deal at one point. Theresa May obviously thought that the full alignment was of outcomes, not detailed regulations. I mean, I have no idea what that means. I think he's talking about dynamic alignment versus equivalency. But that belief collapsed in a few days as the EU made it clear it meant no such thing. I'm assuming he must mean alignment. Far from Brexit means Brexit. Under this strategy, Brexit would have meant something else altogether. Like what? What else would it have meant? We would have left the EU's. We would have left the EU. We wouldn't have been an EU member anymore. We would have been inside the customs market, single market and customs union, struggling a bit here. So I resigned in order to drive the process back to what the British people voted for, which was to leave the EU, which we would have done if we're still part of the single market and the customs union. However, whilst Lord David Frost was able to recover some of the lost ground under a new Prime Minister on the issue of Northern Ireland and the European Commission, the Commission and the European Parliament operating in the echo chamber that is Brussels, it's not true. It's not true whatsoever. The Commission have been speaking more to the people in Northern Ireland to directly see what their concerns are about the protocol and how to alleviate them. The British government has done no such thing. Have persuaded these people in this echo chamber have persuaded themselves that they are the guardians of the peace process in Northern Ireland. They're a guarantor of the Good Friday Agreement, yes, just like the Americans are, just like the British government are meant to be. It's a formidably complex process with no precedent in the rest of the world, yeah, because there's not many cases where a country has still kept colonised another part of another country. For example, we colonised Ireland, and then we held on to the 6 counties, and then we also stopped them speaking their actual native language, which is Irish. That's why the Northern Irish Act, the Language Act, had to be passed, and caused so many issues with the DUP who didn't like it. There's a reason why the Northern Ireland situation is so unique. It's because this situation rarely occurs where a coloniser has kept on to a former colony, or at least part of it. Even the Irish government makes mistakes, which obviously is true. Every government makes mistakes. Coveney made much of his opinion that the majority of MLAs in Belfast agreed with the protocol, which is actually true. The majority do. It was ignoring the fact that the Good Friday Agreement was designed to prevent the dictatorship of the majority and force consensus. Yet you didn't ask for the consensus of both communities when you committed to Brexit. not when you did the referendum, despite the fact that Northern Ireland would be the most impacted from Brexit out of all the other countries in the United Kingdom. You never asked for cross-community consent back then, so why are you asking for it now? It makes no sense. You can argue the protocol has the most impact on Northern Ireland, but you would have to also argue that Brexit had the biggest impact on the people in Northern Ireland. The fact that the largest party in Stormont is no longer unionist does not alter that critical principle, which is true, but at the same time you have to square the circle of Brexit having the most impact on Northern Ireland and you not asking for cross-community consent at the time. Also, you didn't ask for cross-community consent when you came up with the Northern Ireland Protocol either. In fact, you lied to the DUP about the impact of it. Today, May's backstop is gone, but it's replaced by the still flawed protocol. But you said it was great. You said to vote for it. There's even a video, right? I couldn't find it, but there's even a video of you saying, we've debated this for ages now, and effectively there's no stone unturned. And then suddenly you're like, oh, it's actually a real problem. Like, did you not read it? Johnson agreed to the protocol under considerable duress back in 2019. They talk about the Surrender Act and blah blah blah, but he didn't though, because you said it was a great deal. That's the thing, right? I genuinely don't understand these people. How can you say it's a great deal and blah blah blah, and then turn around and say, oh, we actually agreed that under considerable duress? Makes no sense. He was forced to sign up to the problematic unfair clause, and this is now funneling division and bitterness in Northern Ireland when you knew this was going to happen. It's in the impact assessment reports. Unless you did, I don't know if you read those at the time, where there is no devolved government and no prospect of one being formed anytime soon because the DUP are taking a hardline stance. And of course, it goes back to direct rule, which of course Sinn Féin aren't going to like. But if Brandon Lewis wanted to continue annoying the DUP by passing legislation they don't particularly like something around the Irish Language Act and also changes to abortion laws, if the DUP don't sit, they can't really do anything about that. It's time for serious action to reform the protocol, drastically reducing the onerous restrictions it places on the free flow of people. I mean, what? People in Northern Ireland can come to Great Britain with no problem, unless he's talking about animals, because you need pet passports, etc. At that point, it's ludicrous, to be honest with you. And if you wanted the free movement to continue, then you would maybe be against some of the changes Patel has made. He goes, and trade between GB and NI, when the October proposals do help some of the trade. Will help some of the trade flow between Great Britain and Northern Ireland, but if if you're mad at the onerous restrictions, why did you vote for them? Because at times it's felt like some of the EU's top bureaucrats have wanted to make an example of the UK. If they wanted to make an example of the UK, it would have been no deal from the jump. Honestly, punishing us for daring to exit their undemocratic bloc when it's not undemocratic. I don't know why I've gone for an American accent. So what's the answer? The bureaucrats are powerful, but so are the various heads of state of the EU's member states. But then the Commission gets their authority effectively from the EU member states, so that doesn't make any sense. It was Boris Johnson must then go on a tour of European capitals, appealing directly to prime ministers and presidents in a bid to resolve the Ulster problem, but that's where Šefčovič gets his key points from. So again, it's just a dumb point, isn't it? They're the ones that tell Šefčovič what he can and cannot do. It'll go back to EU member states. Any changes to the protocol go back through EU member states. So doing a tour of EU member states doesn't make sense because Šefčovič has already done that. You can make some points to Šefčovič and he can go back to EU member states, but you doing a tour of it won't make any sense. You're just going to waste everyone's time. It's natural for the busy heads of government around the EU to accept without question the simplistic analysis emanating from Brussels. So you're telling me, right, that the EU member states are so busy that they can't actually listen to what the points Brussels are making or what the UK are making because they're so busy doing other things, when the Northern Ireland Protocol impacts pretty much all other member states, because if changes are made it blows a hole in the EU single market. Again, it's just ridiculous. We have to explain, not threaten. We are threatening that if necessary we will take whatever action is needed to rescue parts of the protocol and our nation from the penalties that have been unfairly imposed upon it. When they weren't unfairly imposed, they were voted. They were decided on by the Prime Minister at the time, which is Boris Johnson, who's also the Prime Minister now. So again, it just beggars belief that he's making these arguments about duress and all this other stuff. He says we would do it with regret, but we had to. It doesn't look like Liz Truss regrets anything, to be honest, apart from leaking the information to the Times and destroying the Tory plans. Why would I'm going to stop doing the voice now. Why would Europe's leaders listen to Boris, you might ask? The same was said when Boris went to Brussels to renegotiate the protocol back in 2019. What, you mean the protocol we signed under duress? How can you make the argument that they listened to Boris Johnson in 2019 and then also argue that we signed the protocol under duress? It makes no sense. If he was under duress, why would they listen to him? Come on, man. And when he negotiated our free trade agreement with the EU, which, I think, in my opinion, benefited the EU a lot more, the UK team used the negotiating leverage that we had and came back with a deal. What leverage did we have? The truth is that the EU did not want a trade war any more than we did. It's true, they didn't, and they still don't, but they'll go to it if they have to. What's more, our reputation has risen in the wake of our wholehearted support of Ukraine, which isn't really that true, to be honest with you. I'm sure Zelensky would be against us violating our international agreement with the EU, no doubt. Is that namely Britain has an important role to play outside the EU, which no one really doubted. We're still a member of the United States Security Council, for example. We're still on the Council of Europe. No one doubted that we could play a large role outside of the EU. He goes, why else would Macron have suggested the UK could join in his vision for a wider European bloc featuring non-EU states? I mean, I don't know what specifically Macron said. Does he want us to join EFTA or something like that? I don't know. Is there are clear reasons for European leaders to listen. Most of them have no desire to risk peace in Northern Ireland, but we're the ones risking peace in Northern Ireland. That's the thing. Yet many of them do not appreciate the complexities of the situation, having brought the simplistic narrative set forth by the EU lobby. Essentially, he's saying that they're stupid. Other EU leaders are stupid because they're buying into simple narratives. Are you saying that are you saying EU leaders aren't capable of doing their own analysis and risk assessments on things? Honestly, it's just madness. He's just calling them stupid and lazy. Because this is not not post-imperial Britain trying to maintain control over an ex-colony. I mean, us holding on to Northern Ireland essentially is a matter of national sovereignty and security, which it's not really, is it? And so a huge diplomatic initiative aimed at the UK, aimed at EU heads of state government, may enable us to get more constructive responses from Brussels. I mean, you trying to undermine the Commission won't work when the Commission gets a lot of their orders from the heads of state. If it does not, it will at least mean that when we act, we do so from the moral high ground. I mean, we won't have the moral high ground. How do you go into an agreement and then go on to scrap that agreement and then claim you have the moral high ground? Makes no sense. But just like I said, this man who was the former Brexit minister who pushed for Brexit still has no idea how the EU works. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on how the EU works, but I think I know a bit more than David Davis. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.